What is going on, everybody? 'Tis I, the enigma of the gun airwaves, Miyanovich, welcoming you to Season 3 of the Liberal Gun Owners Lens podcast, where unprecedented perspectives are packed into the cargo hold for the LGO Lens spaceship Voyagio.
That's fucking Italian.
Don't believe that evolution is possible with guns and public safety in America? It's already happening, y'all. Minds are evolving. Think guns versus public safety is the only game in town, do ya? Think culture war is the big boss, do ya? Then keep your ass in the past. Everyone else, all aboard! Clearly, there's some other kind of pretzel logic that goes on inside of the political world and inside of the Democratic Party. I would be totally fine if we had a president that was a female kicking ass on taking names. Sounds awesome. Most likely if she was on the center to left, in the center to left, probably not a chick. I don't know what's going on over on the right with the chicks, but, I don't want to know, but, yeah, I don't fucking know, dude. I don't even fucking know anymore, but sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I think going back to the topic, I think if the Democrats could just start from a human rights perspective platform on actual human rights that we should just all be for, healthcare, living wage, you can even add in, trans rights and other things like that too. All that stuff, a platform that people actually give a shit about, that actually is based on human rights, because there's certain things that are getting pushed further and further away by the right. Like education's getting to be where it's not really a right anymore. Healthcare isn't a right. You have to basically work and you have to spend a bunch to pay anything in a healthcare system that makes billions of dollars in profits. There's certain things that just shouldn't exist, and I think they need to put their flag in the ground and really say what their platform is and base it off of something as simple as, like, what should humans actually have? What should be the bare minimum human rights we should have as a society?
I wanted to finish my thought on female as president. Like, I would be fine with that. If Michelle Obama would have run against Trump, I would have, if they had the old style voting machines with the pull the lever or whatever, I would have ripped the fucking lever off of the machine. Like, no problem. There are probably other women I could think about that would do that same thing. No problem. But when the Democrats ran Hillary Clinton, and even though Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by a pretty decent margin, that's a major accomplishment. And then they run Kamala Harris. Let's just go back to Hillary Clinton. That was one of the worst political decisions that I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so blatantly awful, and not because she was a woman. It was because of who she is as a person. You come off of the heels of Obama, and it is a dog shit, totally out to lunch. It's a terrible decision. Even though it won the popular vote, terrible decision. Now, I'm not saying the same thing with Kamala Harris. I actually admire Kamala Harris for taking on the situation. What happened with Biden and this thing was fucking awful to behold. And it was really challenging. We had to get somebody in there to beat Trump. He was the guy. Biden was the guy that could do it, and he did it. But he's a fucking elderly person. And we have a female of color as a vice president. Fantastic accomplishment there. But then, Biden falls apart cognitively, or was falling apart cognitively, and we have to go with what we have to go with. It's challenging. But again, you are running a person that is just so not fucking likable, right? So why am I bringing that up? Because even the fact that these are women, and this is like a progressive kind of dynamic, you can't overcome the facts. You simply can't, right? You have to have somebody in there that's Johnny on the spot or Jane on the spot who really has it. And it just shows that the Democratic Party, whatever logic they're using, is extraordinarily dysfunctional, even in within the political framework. And it doesn't seem to be getting any better. That was the first thing that I just wanted to make sure that I put that on the record there. It's not about having a woman or having a man in there. It's about there has to be strong leadership in this party, but the problem is that this party is so fucking dysfunctional at this point. The other point I wanted to bring up based on what Adam was saying, so Adam's idea of like establishing a basis for what human rights are and whatever. I even want to go deeper than that, which is just because you don't like something, a person doesn't like something as a liberal or a progressive or somebody who's left of center, you can't just abandon that issue to the other side, which is what we seem to continually do as idealists. Because we don't like war, we don't involve ourselves politically in the reality of war. Like, do the Democrats shape foreign policy and what we do within the political realm? But in the greater political sense, we don't talk about it. We don't address it. We don't provide leadership for it. Not outwardly, the Democrats don't. Because of the 1960s and the Vietnam War. We don't like war. People who love to take care of other people don't like war. So what ends up happening is politically we abandon it. And what happens when you abandon an unchangeable political component? The other side fucking gets to be in charge of it. If we don't like capitalism or finances, which the Democratic Party doesn't say dick about hardly ever, and our, voting bloc doesn't really talk about it because we're worried about the penguins, tribes of the Amazon or whatever. What do you think happens? We abandon it to the other side. And you simply cannot do that, right? Because this voting bloc that we're talking about that can help us to win big elections, they actually do think about these things, right? You cannot just merely decide that the Mexican border is about building the wall or not building the wall. Who cares? This whole country is so rich. Let's take all the money from the billionaires and we'll give it to the soup kitchens. Let everybody just come into the country and we'll just take the money from the billionaires and give it to the people that are just rushing into the United States from all over. And it's not a policy. No one in their right mind will ever be cool with that. You'll never get the government of the United States to ever do that. You have to have border policy. Everybody that has a head on their shoulders knows that. We ignored it. The Democrats ignored it. As a matter of fact, we did the purity test thing where there actually is a problem at the border, by the way. And we pretended like it wasn't, and we actually, our side, shit on anybody that brought it up. Now, I don't necessarily agree with how the conservatives are dealing with it, but you have to have an immigration policy you have to have an immigration policy, and you have to be able to stand with it. You can't abandon immigration policy and talking about it because people on the left don't like it. What's going on? I'm bringing this up because we abandon these classical elements of being an actual progressing nation or a first world nation. We abandoned them. And when we do that, we let the other fucking side take it over instead of getting in the mix and trying to get our values in on it and fighting for it. We just fucking abandon it. And it seems like every 5 years now, the larger voices of the left and their guilt and shame regimes about their niche issues are what dominates the political sphere for the left. And because we have a Democratic Party that kowtows, they just keep following along this pattern of abandoning these classical elements. And this is tying into what we've been talking about. You cannot fucking do that and win elections. Period. You might win a few, but you simply cannot win critical elections and do that. Have you guys been seeing that? Do you see that as well? Like, we just don't talk about war, the economy, right? Not just the financial markets, let's say, or immigration policy or geopolitical foreign policy. Do you guys see that as well?
Absolutely. It's anytime it's a big issue like that, I think there's two parts of it, especially when you talk about the economics and things along those lines. I think the Democrats are afraid of being labeled as commies or, that type of stuff. Communism, it's such a dirty word, but then you look at social programs that are super popular we have social programs all over the place, and we don't have anybody like Roosevelt that's willing to step up and push for these big programs. So we just don't do it. We just walk away. We hand off. We let the insurance industry self-regulate themselves. We let the hospital kind of do what they want. A lot of it's based off of who's putting the money in our pockets. I think it's two sides of it. I think it's being afraid to be labeled as communists while also being afraid to piss off the people putting the money in their mouth. I think that's a big part of it.
Jimmy.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, Adam. I mean, they're talking out two sides of their mouth with these issues, right? They don't want to upset the people that may vote for them or may give them votes in Congress. On the other hand, they don't want to upset the people that are actually donating to their campaigns. So something like the border, right, is a good example of this. It seems like they don't want to upset people on the far left who are super sensitive to immigrants and the plight that they have when they come into the country or try to come into the country, which is real, right? It's a real issue. But on the other hand, like you said, you cannot have a country that doesn't have an immigration policy. And I think they're too afraid to lean one way or the other, so they just don't bring it up. And in this election cycle, it was to their peril. I mean, Trump hit them over the head with it, and at least some of it was effective. Ultimately, I think the bigger issue, again, was the economy. And it was kind of funky how that worked out, because I think when Trump was president, he, if you guys remember, he gave out those stimulus checks, and he, from what I understand, he insisted that his name be prominently displayed on them, and I remember them. So to me, it was kind of a reversal, right? In this instance, most conservatives would say, oh, heck no, we're never going to give people stimulus checks like that. But they did it. And I think this is an example of how the Republican Party is not really conservative anymore. It's just whatever Trump says it is. But as far as the Democrats touching on those big issues, like you said, economy, war, etc., yeah, I think you're right. They just don't want to be associated with it, so they don't talk about it. They don't like war, so they don't talk about it. Although, war is something you've got to deal with. You're the most powerful nation on earth. There's going to be something popping off. You should be ahead of the game. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Hopefully they realize this and fix this of one of the many issues that they need to work on.
Every year that we, as a collective, a political collective, allow I want to say it's further left. I believe it's further left, although you probably get it mixed throughout. You allow this political phenomenon of guilt and shame regimes and purity tests by highly righteous or self-righteous people on the left about whatever it is that they're believing in. And the issue here is that the core of their concern is completely accurate. It's accurate. They care, but they just don't understand reality is the problem. And they don't understand the cost of circular firing squads and stabbing people in the back on your own side. You cannot. So the purity test thing is growing. Its influence is growing. And it seems to me that the Democratic Party kowtowing to it grows as well. And when that dynamic is happening, by the year, you will lose more and more people in your tent. And this is what I have been noticing. And I have called it classic or classical Jungian emasculation. It doesn't have to necessarily do with men or women. It has to do with masculine and feminine forces inside of people. You can't cut the nuts off of people because you have your own pet fight. Right? You can't create a situation where you disempower other people or you're trying to disempower them because their issue that they want to empower or that they're empowered with isn't yours. And so you're trying to cut the nuts off of people, quote unquote, cut the nuts. You're trying to cut the nuts off of people or pull the spine out of people because they're not aligning their political priorities the way that you are. And that phenomenon is growing inside of the quote unquote liberal tent. And it is most certainly coming from the far left. It isn't coming from centrists. It isn't coming from more moderate liberals. And it isn't even coming from up until I would say like the middle of the Bernie people aren't even doing it. It's when you get somewhere to the middle of the Bernie people and then left that this is happening. Now also it can happen in people that are center, that are more close to the center, that have their own priority, right? But you simply cannot win if you have such a cancerous attitude inside of your own tent. And the more people, the more that time goes on, the more people are recognizing this, and the more people are saying, I don't even, not only do they not relate to the Democratic Party anymore, now they're wondering if they're even a liberal because of what liberalism, quote unquote, is becoming, even though it's not, this is illiberalism. It's not liberalism. People really aren't sophisticated enough to know what liberalism is or what it isn't. They just see it as the thing that everybody says on TV. But the thing that's becoming liberalism is something they can't fucking relate to anymore. Now, not only do they not want to relate to the Democratic Party, now they don't want to relate to liberalism. And people who were moderate and purple before, who don't really have a stake in the whole term liberal, who used to maybe vote for us or vote with us sometimes, they definitely don't want to fucking do that. And so it's not just like the way that the issues are being prioritized. That's one issue. The other issue is not recognizing the classical issues like geopolitics, the border, the financial. Not only do those people now are not relating, now we have people don't want to even be a part of the fucking tent because of the guilt and shame regimes of the further portion of the left. I mean, I think we see it on liberal gun owners forums. Sometimes we police against it. But do you guys see it in other places? Like, is it something that you notice? Like, if you weren't in the control room of LGO Facebook, would you be able to notice it in places? Adam, would you be able to notice it?
Oh yeah, I think it's something that we don't see in LGO very often because we do watch for it so closely, and we try to screen people, to make sure they're not completely into their own world and view on those parts. But you see it in anyday life. People have their pet issues. I see it in work meetings sometimes. People have their own departments that are, they need help. They need help for this, and you can't cut your own throat to help them. I mean, and you can't, same thing with politics. You can't completely destroy the Democratic Party or the left tent because this one person needs this one thing. You need to help them get it as much as possible. Do with whatever is within your means. But, I think anything along these lines always goes back to the psychology of tribalism. People having that's their identity, that's their world. Even if it's something that essentially need, they have to be able to be reasonable. And that's something that is a lot to ask for a lot of people, I think. I think some maturity and reasonable concepts is going to be essential in fighting back against that person doesn't want to be part of the tent but wants to control the tent.
Yeah, I mean, I see it too. I have a example in my head. There was a guy I used to work with years and years ago. He's got his pet issue, and every day on his Facebook page, it was stuff about his pet issue. And as we got closer and closer to the election, it was before you guys go vote, don't forget that Joe Biden, he did all these things against my pet issue or our pet issue, which in my mind is the most important thing in the world. And, these things are important, but like we talked about before, they're not the thing that affects everybody every single day. But he was encouraging people to not vote at all. And like Adam said, I think a lot of it has to do with maturity. I'm sure if I would have talked to the 21-year-old Jimmy, I would have been just like that guy. But now the 40-year-old Jimmy, I see, hey man, you're cutting your own throat here, because what do you think is going to happen when Donald Trump wins? maybe Biden didn't do all the things you needed him to do. Maybe he, went against your pet project. But in this instance, Donald Trump has outwardly said he's going to destroy everything you want. He's going against everything you're asking for. And you're telling people not to vote for Biden. So I don't know. I don't know what is in that mentality of, F the world, burn all your bridges if you don't get what you want. But it absolutely has to do, some part of it has to do with some maturity. Like I said, the 21-year-old me probably would have been just like that. But now with a few decades of time to think about it, it's not the best course of action and probably will result in the exact opposite of what they want.
Yeah, I mean, this is what you have to have leadership that can reach through that, if it's even possible psychologically. We really are dealing with the human brain isn't fully formed until somebody's 27. Like your prefrontal cortex isn't even done forming and learning how to operate until you're 27, 26. But you simply have to be able to, as a party, recognize social psychology to a degree that I think the Democratic Party isn't capable of, even though they have subject matter experts and all of this stuff. It really isn't that hard if you just lay out, look, you really do need a leader to be like, there are times when what the people think matter, and there are times when what the people think doesn't matter as much. And the way that we're handling this and the way that you people are handling this is leading in the wrong direction. So this party isn't going to be really listening to you as much right now. We're going to do the ideas and not the people, right? Sometimes you need to lead by going with what the ideas are and not what the people feel. And that's probably a very dangerous message to the Democrats who basically run off of, we're the party of do things for the people. But that can be extraordinarily toxic, as you can see, or not effective. You cannot just surrender to groupthink all the time. But you certainly need leadership that can reach through, if possible, to younger people, or reach into the purple zone to get those votes in the critical states. In either case, the short-term benefit of giving in to the guilt and the shame regimes of people in their niche fights, the short-term gain there is, okay, obviously there's a short-term gain there. We wouldn't do it. But the long-term picture is really, really bad for that. And so when I see the answer, it is putting these people, that whatever the cancer we would call it, I have a name for it, I'll be doing an analysis on it in the future, is putting this fucking thing in its place and saying, I don't really fucking care, because we can't win critical elections with you people basically spreading these guilt and shame regimes as a cancer inside of the liberal tent. We'll never win. And putting these people in their place. But having a message also that says, but we do care about these issues. And also I want to say, as an aside, I think we all say pet issues. And we need to delineate between, I think, pet issues and issues that most people don't prioritize. So, it's not really a pet issue if a woman wants rights over her body. That's not a pet issue. That's a existential issue, right? If a gay person wants rights, wants to be treated like other people, that's not a pet issue. That's a serious issue. That's an existential issue. But a minority's existential issue is not going to be a priority issue for most other people. Even within the marginalized reality, Black people are not waking up every day and making gay people the number one thing in their life.
Yeah, it's a very good point that you bring up.
Right. So we all prioritize what we prioritize. And because I don't necessarily prioritize what's happening, let's say, with female reproductive rights on any given day, or with gay rights or whatever, doesn't mean that's not in my list, but it's not going to be number one for me. And it's okay that it's not number one for me, because we're all doing that. Everyone is doing that. Gay people, straight people, Black people, white people, women, men, we're all doing that. So there's like pet issues, right? Like, I think that the rights of people in Gaza are extraordinarily important. And that can be an existential issue, but also can be a pet issue when you look at it in line with everything else. The environment, very important. That could be a pet issue. But then there's also issues that are just not priority, right? They're in the list of 10, but they're not 1, 2, or 3. So I think we need to delineate between those two things, because there are, people staying out of an election because of pet issues, right? There's that. And then there's also people not wanting to vote because other people are not prioritizing, we care about these things, but we're not putting it 1, 2, or 3. And you get both of those effects from people who are absolutists, right? So I just wanted to make that.
Yeah, I think that's a great distinction to make. I mean, in the instances that I brought up, many of those things, I agree with them. They just ain't at the top of my list for what I think I need to vote based on.
Yeah, and as everybody should know, Jimmy's half Mexican. So
I am.
Yeah. So when we talk or text, I don't ever text with Jimmy and he's like, the wall, the fucking wall, the fucking wall, in the wall, fucking the wall. Jimmy is definitely not doing that.
And I think that a good point or a good thing to bring up is that even within my own family, that's usually not number one either. It's close to the top, to be sure, but it ain't number one.
Yeah, and that's most people. Most people are doing that. And so when 20-somethings are not voting or shitting on us in the tent because somehow everybody's supposed to perfectly fit all of these things into slot number 1, when you have other things that you're thinking about. And even if it has something to do with your own skin color or your own culture or whatever, you're not necessarily putting it number 1. That's just the complexity of being a human and having an anthropologic requirement to getting shit done to your own for your own family and your own proximate environment. And so that's what's real. That's the reality of cause and effect, right? That we're dealing with the reality of cause and effect. And we have people, I don't know, largely perhaps in their 20s and maybe even in their 30s, and they're a little bit further to the left, that actually want reality to be something else other than that. And that confusion is the cancer that's inside of the liberal tent. Again, not only does it fuck us over from within the tent, people that are in the purple zone that would previously have voted with us can see that shit from a mile away and are like, I'm not getting with those motherfuckers. There's a cancer in that fucking tent. And the self-righteousness that belongs on our side, that exists on our side, is the main contributing factor to why people aren't recognizing that this cancer is a fucking problem. And it isn't about me saying, well, I just want white male patriarchy and fucking peak capitalism to just keep going and woohoo for the old white guys. I'm not saying that. I'm saying take a look at what's fucking real, because you can follow this I'm doing the right thing for the marginalized person. Fuck you. It's the only thing that matters. Fuck you. And you do that so much that you just toxify everything around you. That's actually a real thing, and it's partially happening. It's partially happening. It's happening with people who are fighting for marginalized rights. It's happening with people who are fighting for the fucking environment. It's happening with people that are fighting for the fucking Amazon, right? And it's a growing phenomenon. And I'm going to tell everybody a secret. The whole world can see us. They can see this is happening. It's visible, and it is fucked up, and they can see us. They can see it. When the conservatives are like liberalism is a disease, they're wrong about that, right? But part of why they're seeing that is because they're seeing this toxic shit inside of the tent. They can fucking see it, and they are not wrong about it, nor are the libertarians, nor are the independents. They're not wrong about it, or the moderates. They're not wrong about it. They're wrong about liberalism in total, but they're right about what is fucking happening. There's a lot of legitimate action and words being shared about how the marginalized people in this world are getting shit on. There's a lot of good messaging about that, but that's not where it stops. It keeps going into this circular firing squad purity test, shit on your own side, cancerous deal. And at this point, everybody can see it. And that's why I said in the other podcasts, people, and at this point, it's mostly men are getting fucking sick of it. Men on our side are getting fucking sick of it, like sick of it. And so there seems to be a slowly waking giant that's a little bit closer to the middle. And that's a very important political dynamic to keep an eye on, because my opinion is that's one of the reasons why we just lost the fucking election to Donald Trump.
One of the things that pops up, and I remember talking to my brother about this. So before, right, we would see such and such as the first Black American to win this award. Fantastic. That's awesome. And then it just progressively got like they were running out of shit to be the first of. So then it became, hey, this is the first Cajun American with a glass eye to win the ballet championship. Like, what the fuck are you guys even doing? Like, it just reaches the point of absurdity, and people see it and just roll their eyes.
Yes, it's definitely not. So people in that mindset then want to, if you don't just go along with it, you're being racist, or if you don't go along with it, you're a lesser moral version of whatever it is that the purity test is. There is a version of it that gets fucking ridiculous. And there is a version of it that, of all of this stuff, that betrays cause and effect, the basic reality of cause and effect. And that is, in one way, what we're seeing. These are people whose brains are so cooked inside of this oil of the haves versus the have-nots and fighting for the have-nots and self-righteousness and the planet. And they're so cooked in it that they can't even see what's fucking real anymore or how it's affecting what's real. There's just a portion of the status quo that you need. Every group of humans has a status quo that they are energized by, that they can count on. Hunter-gatherers, pastoralists, agriculturalists, industrialists. Everyone has it, and you need it. If you demonize the status quo or you have a horrible fucking relationship with it, your shit's gonna fall apart. You're doomed to fucking destroy yourself from the inside. And it's not the message of caring about those that are less fortunate or caring about the planet. It's caring about it so much that you're not even anywhere close to understanding what's real. So that is also what we're up against, in my opinion, I think we're in a new dark age, and both sides are contributing, and it's a dark age that's created by too much information, not by the lack of information, which is what the previous dark age was. Now we have too much information, too many opinions, too much passion, too much tribalism, and you can get any information that you want to reinforce your tribalism anytime you want. What do you guys think is going to happen in next year?
I think once January 20th or whatever kicks in, you're going to see a lot of the former policies immediately put in place against immigration, against a lot of different things. I think we're going to see passings of tariffs that are going to raise the prices in surprising ways for a lot of people, especially the people who shop in Walmart and places like that. I see a lot of Trump pushing people into positions of power that should never be there. I think a lot of that's going to have a huge effect. It's just, I think you're going to see a whole nother level of incompetence in leadership that hopefully will have its own feedback loop of people going, what the fuck did we put in here? I think we're going to see the economy take a huge dump. I really think those tariffs are going to really impact people a lot more than they think they're going to get the 30 cents off the eggs. I mean, I just think it's going to be a huge feedback loop that's going to drive us into a depression.
What do you think, Jimmy?
So I think very much the same as what Adam is saying. I think Trump is going to royally shit the bed here. What I will bet money on is every time he fucks something up, he's going to try to blame it on the Democrats and Obama and Biden somehow, and Hillary Clinton and whatever. But I don't think at this point, I think it'll get so bad, things may get so bad that it doesn't matter what he says, and the Republicans will probably lose their ass in the next election. But, I mean, 4 years is a long time from now. God knows what can happen.
So his narcissism, its typical output is for everything to go awesome and be super empowered at the beginning. And then his way of doing things just destroys his effort from the inside. That's typical of narcissism, and it's typical of Trump, right? He has a revolving door right 5 feet from him at all times. He seems to have been clicked into a new place for himself. This is only seemingly because somebody tried to take his life. Do you guys think the revolving door thing is going to keep persisting? Or is he going to become like the glue that holds people together? Or is his narcissism just going to keep doing the same fucking thing? Adam?
He's not going to change. I don't even think that attempt on his life really had that much of an effect on him. I don't. I think he used it to try to advertise. I mean, there's so many banners I saw with him with the bloody ear or whatever all over the place. People having posters of it. I don't think he perceives anything beyond his interests and needs and things he thinks will help him. I think he's the ultimate narcissist. I just also think that the people he's surrounding himself with this time are somehow even worse than the last time. A lot of the people he's gotten so poisonous, a lot of the people from his former administration are refusing to come back or voted against them. I mean, I just think you're going to keep seeing a spiral of most likely dementia and whatever else he's got going on get worse and worse and worse, because this campaign, he was not the same guy as the first one. And I just think it's going to be, I think it's going to be a really fucked up 4 years. And I just think that's going to, especially with the people he's surrounding himself with, because the first time he had some people around him that actually had some morals, not all of them, but some of the generals he worked with saw his fascist tendencies. And, for him, it's, we can call it fascist, but it's selfish. It's the narcissistic portions of it. I just think it's going to I think shit's going to go wrong pretty quickly. I think he's going to try to do a big push, try to do a lot of stuff he said he was going to do. And I think once it starts failing, once some of his candidates get denied, he's going to start freaking out. I think he's going to start trying to push people through. And I think he's going to lean into his fascist tendencies, his controlling tendencies. So that's kind of what I'm seeing is he's not going to change. He's not going to be better. I just think he's going to double, triple, quadruple down on what he is and what he's done.
Jimmy, what do you think?
So I think it'll be worse than it was the last time that he was the president. I think this time with the assassination attempt and the court cases that he lost or were pending, he's going to be much more in revenge mode. So I think he's going to pull out all the stops to try to get revenge on all the people that he sees wronged him. And I think we kind of see that with some of the people that he is already trying to appoint, like to the FBI, things like that. He's trying to get more, rather than someone who is competent to do the job, it's someone that he feels will be completely loyal to him and will do exactly what he asks. So that when he asks them to find out a reason that they can throw Nancy Pelosi in prison for the rest of her life, he'll find it. I don't know. I expect a totally crazy 4 years. It's going to be a wild ride.
Not going to be boring. That's for sure. Very Putin-esque, that kind of approach where you're just installing the yes people. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of speculation I think I could get involved in. I just am sort of a wait and see attitude.